Illegitimi non carborundum. The samurai and the musket. The samurai runs towards the dark where the enemy lurks. Tired. No, he can't be tired. He can't rest. Not yet. He must run. He must draw closer to the enemy. He must seize the weapon that has given them an advantage. The weapon that felled one of his companions. He must get a musket. The firelight from the mountain village at his back recedes as he runs into the night-shrouded woods. Propelled by purpose, every step pulls him further from his remaining companions, and the village with its fearful peasants. Samurai defending farmers from bandits. He had been reluctant to accept this task, but it was an opportunity to test his art, the perfect stance, draw, and stroke of the katana. His mastery would be wasted if he were a retainer in a lord's castle. Here, though, in the dark of the wooded slope, awaits the challenge he seeks. He chooses speed over stealth as he advances, gambling that he can move swiftly enough to prove an elusive target if a shooter awaits on the road ahead. Beyond the reach of the village's light, his eyes adjust to the dark, with only faint starlight penetrating the wooded canopy above. He nears the place where he heard a musket shot ring out a minute before, but the bandits have retreated somewhere up the mountain. He follows the small road until he hears sounds of his prey ahead of him. He slows his pace and carefully proceeds in silence. He knows that there is not one among this marauding band that can match him, but he must be selective in how to approach and engage lest he be overwhelmed. These are not men he hunts. They are dogs whose courage is found only in numbers. He longs to meet a true warrior that he may know the satisfaction of needing to apply all of his skill to prevail. His last duel had proved as disappointing as all those that preceded it. He had cut down a braggart who insisted on challenging him with steel after having been bested with bamboo. That memory has no bearing on his current task, though, and he refocuses his attention. The sound of the raiders ahead diminishes and stops moving. They must have reached their encampment. He sits down with his back to a tree and waits for them to settle in. He rises when he believes all except a few guards have succumbed to sleep, and he creeps towards where he heard them, passing silently from tree to tree. Carefully peering out from behind cover, he sees a guard sitting with his back to a modest fire, which his companion is feeding with small branches and bits of brush. Both bandits have swords next to them on the ground, but neither appears to have been entrusted with a musket. The fire tender says something inaudible to the other one and receives only a grunt in response. The fire tender stands and starts towards the samurai. Calculating he won't be able to strike both down before one can raise the alarm, he slinks back at the fire tender's approach, enveloped by welcoming darkness. The bandit relieves himself on the tree the samurai just vacated, and then returns to the small circle of light. With no musket to be had here, he edges around the perimeter of the camp, moving with deliberate ease that attracts no attention. He surveys the bandits, bedded down in clusters of 2s and 3s. He feels a brief temptation to wade into their midst, challenging himself to fell as many as possible before enough rouse to overtake him. No, his life is not his to give at this moment. He vowed to return to the village with a musket, and his resolve to achieve that is unshakable. He presses on. Continuing his scouting, he comes to where the bandits' horses are tied up for the night. He is about to start back the way he came, to search again among the sleeping bodies for that which he seeks, when his eyes catch a bit of starlight glinting on something metallic. A solitary guard is seated on the ground by the makeshift corral, facing away, with a musket leaning back and resting on his shoulder. He longs to announce his presence, that his enemy can comprehend the certainty of imminent oblivion, but pride is secondary to the paramount importance of his mission. The nocturnal denizens of the woods will be the only witnesses to his mastery. He draws his katana and approaches his quarry. The guard, apparently possessing keener senses than most of his ilk, turns his head and starts to rise. The samurai rapidly brings down his sword on the guard's neck, cutting into the windpipe so that the only sound announcing death is a slight, blood-choked gurgle. Releasing one hand from his katana, he catches the musket before it topples to the ground along with the guard's now lifeless body. He gently lays down the musket and uses the dead man's tattered clothing to wipe the blood from his blade before sheathing it. Picking up the musket, he turns and heads back, reviewing in satisfaction his feat of killing a foe with a single sword stroke. He can't be distracted by his success now, though. He refocuses and resumes concentrating on the stealth required to make his way back to the mountain road. He creeps past the sleeping host and comes again to the small fire on the edge of the encampment. Only one guard is present, absent-mindedly poking at the flames with a stick. Turning away from the fire, the samurai quietly eases next to a tree and circles around it to deny the guard any chance of spotting him. He puts a few more trees between him and the camp, and the burden of the mission on his thoughts lightens now that success is apparent. Suddenly he hears a rustling in front of him and he freezes. The sound came from something larger than an animal likely to be here. It must be the other guard who was at the fire earlier. He leans the musket against a tree, draws his sword, and waits. Again rustling in the underbrush, closer this time. He shifts the grip on his katana, lowering the tip towards the ground and behind him. From out of the darkness, the bandit's face just comes into view when the samurai deftly strikes. With blinding alacrity, he brings his sword up, over, and down until it connects with the enemy, cutting a bloody swath, shallow at first at the forehead and deepening to a mortal gash as the blade traverses soft belly. The bandit's final expression is one of shock as the light leaves his eyes and he pitches forward to the ground. While over in an instant, and almost without sound, the samurai cannot know if the confrontation was detected by the guard remaining back by the fire. He quickly wipes his blade, retrieves the musket, and departs. He forgoes some stealth in favor of speed and comes at last back to the road. Dawn is rapidly approaching, and a mountain fog rises to greet it. On the road and concealed by the fog, he hears no telltale sounds of pursuit. He slackens his pace after a while and slows to a walk once he knows he is near the village. Fatigue is becoming harder to ignore, but it will not be long before he can safely rest, and he allows his thoughts to move beyond immediate concerns. Much remains to be done to secure the village from the bandit threat, but obtaining the musket will surely make the goal easier to achieve. Hopefully there will be more opportunities to practice his art. There is no honorable duel to be had here, but there are many more curs deserving to be cut down. They can serve as practice for now until a true challenge presents itself at last. Through the mist he sees the outlines of buildings, and, drawing nearer, the figures of his companions and some of the peasants become distinguishable. He has fulfilled his vow and returned with a musket. He has prevailed. And furthermore, Carthago, delenda, est.